guys, welcome to another episode of No Mama Grow Mama. This is the place where we talk about all things related to health and wellness for you and your family, which, if you think about it, is pretty much every topic under the sun, because everything kind of comes back to our physical, mental, emotional health and wellness, right? So today we're talking to Joanna, who is a holistic nutritionist. She may look very familiar to some of you because she's also the host of our Nourished Sundays series that comes out on Sundays. So Joanna is coming to talk to us today a little bit about what it's like to be a holistic nutritionist. So who is Joanna? What's she about? So Joanna was born and raised in France. Probably lots of us dream of being born and raised in France, right? France is a place where colorful food is always a part of the culture. On top of that, her mom was a biochemist and always made sure that that her and her siblings had time to spend in the kitchen, knowing where their food came from, and always eating their vegetables. So it's safe to say that nourishing food has always played a big part in Joanna's life and her upbringing. After moving to Canada and graduating from anthropology, she reconnected with her other love, which is food, and graduated as a holistic nutrition practitioner from the Calgary branch of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition in 2014. That probably feels like a very long time ago.
It does. At the same time, it went by way too fast.
It's like no time, right? After having 2 kids and falling into the trap that we all fall into, being busy parents, she set aside her holistic nutrition practice. Joanna is now sharing the many benefits of holistic nutrition in gaining back your life, especially as a mom. Okay, so Joanna, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is a holistic nutrition and what does it mean to be a holistic nutritionist? What does that mean? What do you do? Mm-hmm. A little bit about that.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So first of all, I just want to give a little disclaimer, because in Alberta, we cannot use the word holistic nutritionist, and that's it depends from the province. This is why I call myself a holistic nutrition practitioner, just to follow the guidelines, right? So just I'm not trying to say something else than what you're saying, but in Ontario, it's fine to use it that way. It's just different regulations. But anywho, so hi everyone. Holistic nutrition basically encompasses many different things, and it's not just about the food, but it really understands, first of all, the body as a whole. So the physical is connected to the mental and the spiritual. It's not just one thing, right? Everything affects everything else. So it's a whole, and we cannot just fix one thing without looking at everything and how it's impacting everything, which is one of the things that really attracted me in holistic nutrition versus more regular nutrition, is that it really looks at the person as a whole and also as an individual, because all of us will have different life experiences, different genes, different ways to experience the world. So we're going to be impacted differently by everything, and also by the food we eat. So there's not just one solution that's going to fix everyone's issues, right? But what holistic nutrition specifically does is seeing how food is so essential to everything, because if you look at a car, the car is not going to drive unless you put gas into it, right? And literally we are what we eat. Our cells are made because we nourish stuff into our body that may actually not be that nourishing. So really just seeing how food is going to affect our overall health, because everything you do is going to eventually have an impact, for good or worse. It's affecting us. So that's basically when you go get support from holistic nutrition. It's looking at everything that's happening in your body, but also seeing what you're eating, how you're eating, because it's not just what, but it's also how, and just finding something that may help you as an individual in a specific way, versus, just a bland food guide statement that may not be fit for you and your own health.
Right. So Why would someone come and need to use a holistic nutrition practitioner like yourself? What would be going on that someone would say, I need to speak to Joanna. There's something happening in my life. I need her help. What would those
Right.
be? How would somebody use your service?
Oftentimes, like any kind of alternative health practitioners, people come to us like as the last resource because everything else has not worked. And ideally, you know, it wouldn't have to be that way because then it's so much harder. But oftentimes that's how it works. That's our system, right? People will first go to the general medicine, and then if, you know, eventually that may not work that well and they notice there's still stuff happening, because, you know, when you fix a symptom, it's not fixing the root cause. Right. So really, people who want to understand the root cause and focus on it to feel better, like as a whole, again, not just, you know, physically, but it may be something going on mentally or spiritually too. Like it's all kind of affecting everything. So people who want to get to that root are the ones who will be looking for holistic nutrition support. And then maybe people who also, you know, go to a naturopath or go get acupuncture. You know, all those alternative therapy really work well together because they complement each other, and they don't have like the harsh symptom
side effects
suppressing. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's using kind of a softer method that really helps your body go back to balance, because naturally our bodies, they know how to get back to balance and they're programmed to do it. Our bodies are very wise. They know what to do. The problem is that we keep on giving them the stuff that just hinders the process, or even like blocks it sometimes. And it depends, like it may be from stuff we eat, but it's also like from stuff we fill up our mind with, right? So that just kind of, with our current modern stressed lifestyle, that's really adding a lot of pressure on the body to just have its natural flow. So all those alternative medicine and alternative supports, that's what they help people do, just get back into that natural state where the body just knows what to do
to work properly. So when you mind things, are you referring to like if someone's walking with trauma? And let's be honest, we're probably all on some degree walking with some level of trauma through life, right? For how we process our thoughts and those kinds of things. Would that be something that impacts how well a sort of holistic side works? And is that something that can get addressed as well if people are walking with trauma?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, food is the basis of everything, like I mentioned. And it's coined, you know, our gut is coined as the second brain, or the first brain, depending on who you're talking to. And we have so many neurotransmitters and, you know, like also the hormones that affect our mental health and wellness that are being produced in our gut. And actually about 60% of our immune system is in the gut. And then, so there is like a lot of things happening at the gut level, and obviously that's directly affected by the food. So really how you are doing mentally is, you know, it's affecting your whole body, but also your gut is affecting how you're feeling mentally. So it goes side by side. When you are experiencing a trauma, or you have experienced a trauma that hasn't been, you know, resolved, or, you know, it can also just like be day-to-day stress, or, you know, lack of sleep, everything that's really affecting your brain. It's also your guts are also a huge part there, and we don't necessarily think about it. But if you want to, I would say, if you want to really be well and get to a state of full wellness, you need to do both. So like focus on, you know, the mental support. So reaching out to a counselor, or doing some sort of therapy, and also the physicality, especially healing the gut. Now, when you see a holistic nutrition practitioner or naturopath, oftentimes, you know, we're trained to also ask questions about mental health and also see how it's playing a role here. So part of that support is also, you know, helping people process a bit of that now, but that's not gonna replace, you know, a trained counselor or psychologist who can go much deeper in that area, right? But I think those really need to go hand in hand in many cases.
Well, probably for referrals also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
It's funny because we have a laughing joke, but between our circle of friends that everybody, or not everybody, some people feel like they need to know all the things, and you don't need to know all the things. You need to know people who know all the things, right? So a traditional MD doesn't pretend to be, you know, a podiatrist. He doesn't need to be, because he can refer someone to a podiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah. So what is something, or what is, in terms of a holistic nutrition outlook assessment, what is something that it's not going to do?
Right. So, well, it's a few things it's not going to do, but generally speaking, it's not going to be a quick fix.
Right.
So it's not like taking a pill and everything's going to be fine. You know, you're going to be 10 pounds lighter, or you're going to feel like you have all the energy in the world.
Oh, so you don't have the magic either.
I'm sorry.
Man.
It all takes work. So it's not, it's, again, like it puts the power in the individual, right? We all have to understand that our health is in our hands. There's no one else who can fix it for us, right? Unfortunately, but actually fortunately, because then you have the power to make the decisions that fit your lifestyle, you know, the progress you want to make. You really have that power, but sometimes it's hard to realize. So yeah, it's not gonna fix everything in a heartbeat. It's a process, and it's not gonna work if you're not ready to do the work and go inwards a lot, because it takes a lot, and it's probably gonna take out some stuff that you may not want to see, and maybe you've pushed it down because you're like, oh, I don't want to see that side of myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, like emotional eating too, like just going back into that link with mental health. Like there's so many things that, you know, link food with emotions and mental states, right? So it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. If you were to look at the clients who use, or people who might use, a holistic nutrition practitioner service, who are those clients? What do they look like? What are they looking for? I think you kind of touched on it at the beginning a little bit, in that said, you know, they've possibly gone the traditional medical route and not found solutions, or not found appropriate solutions, or found solutions for which the side effects are worse than the actual thing that with themselves. Who are the people, if I were to identify myself as, yes, I'm someone who wants to use holistic nutrition practitioner services, what are those people looking for?
So I would say, like, there is a range too, and depending on where you are, that's also, it will take you longer or not, you know, because I think some of us, I mean, like myself, I grew up in a home where, like you said in the intro, my mom was always, you know, trying to teach us about cooking at home and what food did what and why this was good. So we ate a lot of broccoli and, you know, Brussels sprouts. I did not like that, but it just kind of, like, since a child I was bombarded by the importance of food in our well-being. But that's not the case for everyone. Like, some people do not grow up that way, and because their parents do what they can and they were not taught that it's important, or they just don't know. And unfortunately, like, mainstream media and, like, general doctors, oftentimes they don't necessarily provide that information, or they may actually, like, the news, you hear stuff, and especially on social media, and then, you know, the ads, like, you hear stuff that are actually not very true. So if you believe what you see, which, you know, a lot of us do because that's how we were programmed, then it's going to be harder. But it doesn't mean, like, some people they just realize that their bodies are not getting better from getting all the supports that should work. You know, they're seeing the doctor, they're taking their meds and blah blah blah, and they just see it's not working. So even if they were not, trained to cook at home and do those things, they still reach out to other methods just to try it, right? And then oftentimes when they see all that it can do and they start to notice it's getting better, that's when they really get hooked, right? And then there's other people who just know already how food can be impactful, but they might not know exactly like how it's impacting them, or like how to make it work, right? How to balance it out, again, because they have other responsibilities, and that's why we have holistic nutrition practitioners,
right.
to support with that. So I would say there is a range of people, and then also, as parents, there's also the parents who realize that food plays a huge role in little ones and can have huge impacts later on, right? So it's you're not gonna see the effects right now, but what you feed your kids right now is gonna affect them, in their whole life. So, which is also pretty overwhelming. Like, I remember when I had my first daughter, I kind of was paralyzed sometimes when I realized like how much of my responsibility it was and how much of an impact my day-to-day decision would have on her. And sometimes I was like, oh my gosh, even knowing all those things, it was just freaking me out so much. But it's not like because you do one thing, it's gonna screw them up forever. It's not like that either, right? But it's being cognizant that we actually have the power to support their growth, their well-being, that's gonna last for years. And we can also often reverse actually things, right? So it's not because for the first 5 years you didn't know, so you didn't do it, right? You just didn't know. It doesn't mean that you cannot make things better and even reverse things.
Right.
So there's hope. And
as humans, we're very easily able to change, right?
Like we see right now.
Adapt and grow, for sure. It's funny because I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day about how, and you mentioned it, how food is so, especially here in North America, treats are so programmed into every part of parenting, right? So what's the first thing you do when your 2-year-old, learns to use the bathroom for the first time, or your 5-year-old brings home like a great thing on the report card? You hand them treats. Don't we all have a little stash of something, some kind of candy or treat or give our kids? And you take that through life with you, that sweets are the reward when we do good things. I'm sure you'll attest. Very, very easy for that to get out of control. Very easy for that to get
and that's funny you're mentioning it, because we're also like potty training my son. He's 2.5, but boys are slower, man. I can attest to that. Like my daughter, she was so fast, and he's taking his sweet time. Not that I like gender stereotyping, but kind of witnessing it here happening.
The seconds like to take their time with it.
Rush. That's true, actually. That maybe that too. So, and he was going to day home. He's not anymore, obviously. But I was telling her, so he's starting to, use the potty. So we're giving him a little reward when he uses it. I was like, oh, a candy. I'm like, no, he's getting a sticker.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like everyone, that's the reaction. Even my husband, he was like, oh, we're going to need to get sweets. I'm like, no, we are not. And then, when, clean up your stuff, then we're going to get a candy. And no, we're going to get a rice cracker, maybe. Like if you want to give something to eat, maybe.
So let's dig into that a little bit. But let's dig into that. Dig into that for me so that people can understand. So I've done a little bit of work on this myself. So what happens with little kids? Talk to us about sugar, reward, addiction. What happens with all of that for us to be able to consider different options than choosing sweet treats or candy as rewards? Can you dive into that a little bit so people can understand?
So like for me, really, it comes down to setting the roots for emotional eating, which we can probably all attest, like it can get out of control, right? Even as adults, like it's really hard to control portions, and especially with sugar, because sugar.
Wine drinking. All kinds of things. Coffee drinking, wine, all those things that make us feel better.
Exactly. And sugar like just does that to your brain, that it's highly addictive. So they even like, there's many articles that compare sugar for kids like cocaine for adults, like the level of addiction it causes to your brain and how it modifies things into your brain. So it's not only like making you addicted, but it changes things around your brain. So when you think about that, like it kind of makes you even more aware of the danger, right? Like I like to think about it that way. It's like a poison that you're putting into your child's body, and then you're associating it with something positive. So then, you know, their whole life they're gonna be like, oh, I feel good, I'm gonna get something sweet. Or I want to feel good, so I'm gonna get something sweet. And that's exactly the basis of addiction. I want to feel good, so I'm gonna get that thing to keep on going. Whereas, you know, I mean, I 100% think like rewarding kids is often necessary. Like I would like to think there's a better way to do it.
But
we
like rewards as adults too, don't we? We like, I mean, that's a natural part of being, I think. So
yeah, exactly. But I think it's important to think about it, to be critical about the things we have been programmed to do and that we just do without thinking. Like just like take a step back and realize how this is socially invented. Like it's not nature that guided us here. Like it's just been the way people have reacted socially, but also because of, you know, how it's affecting our brains, all the sugar, right? As adults, if we feel that it makes us feel good because, you know, that's how it's wiring our brain, then we're naturally going to think, oh, I want my kid to feel good, so I'm going to give them, you know, that thing. But just taking a step back and thinking, okay, so we want to reward, but why sugar? Especially knowing that it's not good. Like I, as a parent, I here have the opportunity to do things differently with my child. So, but I just want to go back a bit. Like I know it's hard when everyone else is doing the sugar thing, right? Like it's just gets hard when you have all that social pressure. And that's like why I just hate it so bad. It hurts my soul so bad when there is candy at birthday parties. It just like, it kills me inside. And like, I don't want to, you know, and it's like friends, families, like I don't want to be like that annoying person, but I just like, just, it kills me. Like, why would you have to bring that terrible, all the pop and all the sugar-filled treats?
When it's our programming. It's our programming. Our parents did it to us. What you do to show love, isn't it? That's what we're programmed to believe.
Yeah.
It's what you do to show love.
Exactly. So it's like, but you know, like for me, like a party is gonna be fun by itself. So like you don't need to add the sugar treat. You just make it extra fun. And if you want to have a little gift, you can, but also like don't go crazy on all the gifts, because that's also associating it with stuff. Like you don't want your kids to just value stuff so much, right? Personally, like I try to reward them with like a dance party, or we're gonna like do a little hide and seek, or we're gonna run outside, like just something that they enjoy doing. And that we may not do all the time because, you know, like you're also a busy adult. And then it really associates with that experience and that connection instead of sugar or a material thing. Now I know it's you know, it's hard because we've been programmed that way, or we're busy, and sometimes we're like, oh, we don't want to add one more thing to our plate. But just thinking about it as like we are setting the floor, we're setting the roots for the next generation, and for them to be healthier adults than we are, to not have to deal with all the things we have to deal. I mean, it's pretty nice. You know, it's big responsibility, but it's also a pretty, you know, it's
important.
It's a honor to do it, right? Anyway, that was a long rant about sugar.
We can go on for a long time, but I think the important thing for families who are watching this to understand, though, is it's a choice. You can choose to do that for your family. You can choose to learn and grow and do things differently also. Find rewards if this value to you, if it makes sense, if you can see the changes and the growth within that in your own life. The first time I realized how bad sugar was probably, I don't even know, 7 or 8 years ago now. And I won't say how old I am, but I'm old enough that it shouldn't have taken me that long to figure out how bad sugar was. And I remember clearly I was dancing and teaching in a class, and it was shortly after Halloween, and I left the class and my ankles hurt so badly I could hardly walk. And I had an interview for another series that we were doing with someone the next day, and we just briefly touched on sugar and how it can inflame joints. And I remember off of that and thinking, putting all the pieces together. Halloween, you eat so much of your kids' candy at Halloween, or your own candy at Halloween. And then I'm going out and doing weight-bearing physical activity that's also going to inflame those joints. And it just started putting it together. Then I started watching what happens after Christmas, and you eat like all of the candy and chocolate. And then after Easter, like, oh my gosh, that is my thing. My ankles and my wrists do not like sugar, and it's not. And it's only going to get worse as I get older. And I was like, that's the thing. It's
amazing you realized it physically, because oftentimes like I guess we're used to not feeling optimal, and we're used to have, little things, unpleasant things in the body. So you just don't notice it, or you just don't take the time to think why you're feeling that way, and that it's not normal. Like feeling bloated. So many people are bloated after every meal, and they just think it's normal, but it's not. And like sugar, again, has so many effects on the body. And when you start noticing, like, it becomes so clear, especially when you start reducing. And then if you do have a lot of sugar, then it's like the other day too, my husband is a chef. So anyways, he was like prepping for an event, and he was like trying all those different desserts. And like they looked so good, and of course he wanted me to try it. Like, yeah, but I felt
someone must sample and take one for the team.
Exactly, I was sacrificing myself, and I just felt so bad after. Like I was so tired, so sluggish. Like again, like just my body was not good, and that was like pretty quickly after. And then I was like, okay, no, it's not worth it. Like, it's beautiful, but no, thank you. But yeah, and also going back to one thing you said, I think it's important, again, to realize it's a choice, and also to not feel bad if you are not doing it, because like parenting, there's so many things to, right? And like you pick your battles, right? You just don't want to, we cannot be everything and do everything perfectly. We just can't. That, even I know a lot of things that I should be doing in regards to holistic nutrition and food, but I still do them, and then sometimes I'm like,
I shouldn't. All the things.
Exactly. So it's really picking what makes more sense to you, and what is gonna be
the most impactful.
Kind of, or you can also, one way I like to look at it, maybe start small at first, just to kind of also get a feeling of how you are in control and how you can actually make changes. Because sometimes we are also so tired, so stressed, we just feel like we just can't. But when you start with the little thing that really, and it works, it pumps you up to do more.
Right.
It kind of depends on how you work, right?
I love that advice, actually. And you know what? That advice is so absolutely spot on and transferable. So I'm going to share a story with you guys. So Joanna does our Nourished Sundays, and it's all about stuff like this. It's little tips and tricks to get you like more in tune with what you're putting in your body. And one of the episodes that she did was on reading food labels. And you're going to roll your eyes just like I did, because it's like, oh, okay, here we go again. We're going to talk about sugar and fat and calories. And right away, she blasts into the video and she's like, that doesn't matter. Calories don't matter. And a piece of advice at the end of that episode has so deeply sat inside of me, and it just naturally has changed how I do things. And her piece of advice is, when you're buying processed foods, now correct me if I say this wrong, Joanna, if it has more than 10 ingredients, put it back. That was the correct advice?
Well, right? I say like more than 5, but like you can start slower.
Maybe I said 10. Maybe I said 10 in my own head. I don't know.
Just be a bit nicer.
But it's funny because now when I go grocery shopping, without even thinking about it, I flipped to those labels and I was like, you don't even pay attention to the things necessarily that you can't pronounce. because if those are on there, there's guaranteed more than 10 ingredients in that product anyways. The less the ingredients, the less of those processed words in there. And I was like, that's such an easy thing to do. And the interesting part of it is the more it closely resembles real food. So it just makes it so much easier. So like that advice is absolutely spot on. Starting with one thing that just sat with me, and I was just like, oh, it just makes so much sense. And as a family who has massive amounts of food allergies between 2 different kids right now, that advice makes it also so much easier to shop for those kids, because those ingredients, it's easier to spot. First of all, if I look at a big long list of ingredients, it's easier to put that product back. But if I'm looking for ingredients or items that have, let's just say, less than 10 ingredients right now, it's so much easier to pick out those food allergies and put that item back. It's becoming a natural part of shopping. So I 100% can relate to that, because that's exactly right. And then it just becomes a natural part of what you do. And now I can pick another one. I can find another piece of advice. So that's great advice. Actually.
That's awesome. Good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'm awesome. Happy that you took that. And yeah, it's just like, because there's obviously so many things we can do to improve our lifestyle, our wellness, our family's well-being. Like there's so many things, literally. Right. I guess because the condition of being human is being imperfect, right? In many aspects. So like if you really want to get well, you don't want to put more stress on yourself. So if you're like overwhelming yourself with everything you need to do, that's going to add stress. So it's actually not helping. So yeah, just feeling good about that little thing you're doing. That's already
it's interesting because it actually opens your eyes to what is in products, right? Always doing a good thing by buying. We make our own tomato sauce in the summertime and can it, but I always need to have spaghetti sauce and diced tomatoes and crushed tomatoes and stuff at home. And it's interesting reading that. I have a son who's allergic to corn, and starting that process has made me read all labels now, not just the things that I think. And a lot of the tomato sauce that we've always bought has cornstarch in it. Why? Why is there cornstarch in spaghetti sauce?
Right?
It's amazing eye opener of the stuff that's not necessary that is put that we eat, which is crazy.
Yes.
Oh that one especially has been very impactful for us.
Good. I'm glad.
Check out that series, guys, because there's so many good tips, and her videos are quick and short. They're less than 10 minutes. There's all kinds of good tips in there. Joanna, let's bring it back to chatting about the holistic nutritionist or holistic nutrition practitioner. Is there anyone that you can't help? Is there anyone that using your services is not ideal for?
So, not really. But I mean, I guess kind of going back to it, like someone who wants a quick fix and who's not willing to do the work, obviously, like I cannot help, right? But it's the same with anyone. Like you cannot be helped if you don't want to help yourself, right? So that's this. But then just when you look for support from a holistic nutrition practitioner, then there is a whole bunch of like interviews, I guess, like beginning work, and there's lots of forms to complete and stuff to go through just to make sure there is a full understanding. And also, like if you're taking medications, like it's not like we don't make you go off your meds, right? So we have to work around those to make sure there is no interactions, contraindications with certain foods, certain supplements and things like that. And I mean, obviously, depending on the level of imbalance that's happening in your body. So when there is imbalance, there is illness. Depending on the level, you're gonna need support from other people as well, right? Or not, kind of depending what stage you're in. Because again, you need to tackle the issue from different fronts, and there's people specialized in different things, right? But really, just like briefly, it's just the only people that I cannot help are those who are not ready to do the work or cannot really find, I guess, the motivation to get better. And that doesn't mean, like, again, drastic change. It's just like tiny step, but being open to trying and to shift the way you're programmed to think, to approach food, and being open to different things like reading food labels differently,
Right.
for example.
Right. Are there any misconceptions or misunderstandings about what someone in your position would do?
Yeah, so I think there is, a few, and there's probably many more, because I'm so into it that I don't necessarily see how you would not want to get into that, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people discard the importance of food in your life and your well-being, and that's quite unfortunate. But it also I can understand why it's happening, because a lot of MDs also are not trained for it and may not see the importance. I had personally an experience like that, which really enraged me because I just couldn't understand why the doctors say that. Because actually my son, when he was a baby, he started to develop skin issues that look like eczema. Maybe it was, I don't know, but I don't really like to call it eczema because
I don't really like that word either.
Right?
It's an allergy for which the symptoms come out through the skin rather than inside.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So some imbalance. And also I think I was very stressed. So I feel personally it's also it was his response to my stress, and it still happens when I'm very stressed, he gets more rashes. But anyway, that's a different topic. So, we did what we had to, and I, at first I was still breastfeeding when that happened. So it's not, I was not feeding him yet. But then, he was also feeding. So we went to the MD, they sent us to the dermatologist, and, and every time I would ask, so is there any food that I should be avoiding? So what do you think, do you think dairy, gluten, because I've been, trying to cut it, there's no, food has nothing to do with it. Just take this cream that's full of steroids. It's gonna make your kid better. And I was just so mad. And I did what I knew was right. And sure enough, he got better. And I didn't put that freaking cream on him. But it just was really annoying to see, knowing how important food is. Even the doctor didn't acknowledge it. When I was handing stuff in their hands, just saying, see, no, that's just coincidence. Seriously. So I understand why many people undermine the importance of food, and it's not to blame the doctors. It's also they're not trained for it, right? They're just doing what they were trained to do, right. And how they think their
role is to fix the problem in the immediate.
Exactly. Fix the symptom.
Right. Yep.
So don't go down to the root. So really, I guess, okay, so what was it? Oh, the misconceptions. I'm what were we talking about again? I just got mad at my doctor. So that's one big thing, just not seeing how important food actually is and how much of an impact it can have in your life. And also sometimes when people hear holistic, they think it's a bit woo-hoo and it's not scientifically proven and all that things. But as a holistic nutrition practitioner, I am trained to read, peer-reviewed, scientifically controlled experiments and stuff to really get the most up-to-date research and information out there. So it's not just, based on what grandmas think or used to do, really. It's also based on research that is current and that's being conducted by scientists throughout the world, right? But it also takes into consideration the whole, which is so important. And that doesn't make it woohoo. It just makes it more complete. But right. That sometimes can clash with, again, what traditional medicine has taught us. The system we were born in often likes to split things up. But so I think that's the main one. I could probably think about more, but
I think I like the woo-woo one. I think that one especially is a very common belief that anything that doesn't fall within traditional medicine is alternative, but I think alternative has somehow got negative connotation, but
Mm-hmm.
many people use chiropractors nowadays, right? When that first started, that was very it is still alternative today.
Mm-hmm.
So it all falls into the same vein. It's just
Mm-hmm.
willingness to explore different methodologies to,
Mm-hmm.
yes, right?
Exactly. And
Right.
again, because like oftentimes it's not just like one quick fix. That's also why
Popping the
sometimes
pill and the
people,
pain goes away.
exactly. But I mean, actually some stuff like can have effects like the following day, right away, like just like changing the way you eat food or what you eat together. Like it can just make you better the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be slowly, but often, it's not something like just like, yeah, taking an Advil, like
Right.
30 minutes later, your pain
You're
is
better.
gone. It's,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
that also plays a role here. But I think it's because, again, as a society, we have lost the connection with our body to really understand the messages it's sending us. So because again, the body is wise, knows how to get back into balance. And when we feel a symptom, it's actually our body being like, hey, that's not nice. Hey, I don't like that. Woohoo, don't do that. Otherwise it's I'm not gonna be happy. So instead of seeing it that way, we're seeing it as an annoyance that's not letting us live our super busy lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that kind of feeds into that diminishing of alternative things, because it's not gonna make everything perfect right away.
Funny, because I always compare it to the analogy of like the Band-Aid on the gaping wound, right? You could put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound and it'll absorb some of the blood, but the gaping wound is not going to fix itself unless you get to the problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Do you
that's
want
a
the
good one.
Band-Aid solution, or do you want to get to the root of the problem and fix it for life?
Exactly. Thank you. So well put.
So how long would someone typically need to see a holistic nutrition practitioner? Is it like a month or two? Is it something where you, like a chiropractor or a massage therapist, where you commit to doing it for life, for whole body health?
It really depends again on the person and where they're at, because as a holistic nutrition practitioner, really like what we do is a lot of teaching. We teach you, we give you the tools so you can take your health in your own hands. And if you're comfortable with doing it yourself, like you don't necessarily need that person, supporting you, unless there's other things arising, and unless you may actually need the accountability to, and just kind of that extra person to support you, but it doesn't have to be so often. And usually the way it works is that first, when someone is interested in working with me, then there is we do a quick chat at first, just to see what the motivation is, to make sure it's a good fit. Again, if someone wants to like lose 20 pounds in 1 month, I'm gonna be like, sorry, this is not what we do. Or so just to see we're on the same page and understand what it's going to take from both sides. And then there is some forms that the client will receive. So you get a few forms to complete. Again, goes through your entire health history, not just physically, but also things going on. It's pretty easy to fill up. It's very complete, but it's not meant to be overwhelming. It may take some time to get to it, but takes a bit of time, and then that gives me a better idea of what's going on. And then based on that, then we have about an hour and a half long consultations, just going through that form and also seeing what may be happening and then what we may want to implement. So everyone is going to have a bit of a different plan. Again, it depends on my recommendation, but also what the person wants to do, how they want to work, what makes them comfortable, if they, again, like financially also what they can afford, can work around that. But like what they say, it takes 21 days to create a habit. So like it's not, I would say like about a month is a good way to do it. And it doesn't have to be like every week we meet, can be like every other week, like just have like 3 consultations, or even just 2, and see how things are going, because then I provide the tools for the person to, know what to do and see what works best. Actually, one of the most important things is to learn to listen to your body. Like how you realize your joints were connected to the sugar, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that for some people it may take much longer, and for some it's just more intuitive, right? So really, when you get to that point and you can really understand what your body is telling you, then I think like you can do it on your own, right? You don't necessarily need the support, but then it's hard. It's sometimes just to have that ourselves. And even like myself, I sometimes work with holistic nutrition practitioners to support myself, because I just like, even though I'm so into it, I just may not see it. It's like, it's like a psychologist probably. Yeah, it's like a psychologist. They also need a psychologist to support their mental health.
Right. Okay, so let's say that we have a family right now who's listening to this, and they are taking their kids to soccer, or they're cleaning bedrooms, or those kinds of things, and maybe they won't remember everything that was said in this interview. If you could leave them with 2 things, the 2 most important things to remember that you've shared today, what would those things be that you want that family to remember?
Mm-hmm. Thanks. So number 1, food is number 1. Just like putting it. So just number 1, just focus on the food you're eating and feeding your family, and realize how important it is in your life, like how it's affecting everything in your body. Just being conscious of that is a huge step. And then, when you're conscious of that, then you can start noticing patterns, trends, and implementing more things. But just like first, food is first. And then the second, I would say, is that there is not one size fits all solution. Like everyone is different. Everything's gonna affect you differently. So just really understanding the uniqueness of your body and your family, in how you can improve things for your health and well-being. I guess let's do.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to put Joanna's contact information in the post, so that if you're interested in learning more about this, or you want to connect with her for a question, or maybe you want a consultation for how your family's doing in terms of feeding your family well, or if, like I said, if there's something going on that you want to connect with Joanna, I'm going to put her contact information in this post so you can connect with her. Joanna, thank you very much for sharing this information.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully you guys got at least a few takeaways, maybe more than the 2 at the end. Share this with a friend. There's lots of great information in this video, and also in the Nourished Sundays video that Joanna did with us. Lots of takeaways, lots of little tidbits, lots of things for us to think about, and little changes that we can make here and there in our own world to be better and grow better. Joanna, thank you very much for joining me today for this.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
There goes Salsa, baby.